Commander Lee Hyun watched the massive asteroid miners carve through space rock like butter, their plasma cutters sending brilliant blue sparks across the darkness. The Kepler 442 system had been humanity's most profitable mining operation for 15 years. Convoys of cargo ships loaded with rare minerals departed daily for Earth and the outer colonies. "Another successful day, Commander," said Navigation Officer Kim Woo, checking the production reports on his holographic display. "The new quantum extractors are pulling twice the expected yield from Asteroid Cluster 7. Lee Hyun nodded, sipping his morning coffee while watching a school of space whales drift past their starboard viewport. These magnificent creatures, each the size of a city block, had lived in this system for millions of years. Their bioluminescent patterns created a natural light show that never got old. "Sir, we're receiving multiple emergency transmissions from Haven's Rest Communications," Officer Songbo announced, his face suddenly pale. The young officer's hands trembled as he adjusted his headset. Haven's Rest. Lee Hyun's stomach dropped. His younger brother Jun lived there with his wife and 2 kids, teaching at the colonial school. The agricultural world supported 50,000 human settlers across 12 major cities and hundreds of farming communities. "Put it through," Lee Hyun ordered. Captain Park Mina's voice filled the bridge, crackling with static and barely controlled panic. "Commander, we have a massive situation here. Unknown alien vessels appeared in our orbit 30 minutes ago. They're demanding complete evacuation within 72 hours. The bridge fell silent, except for the low hum of the ship's engines. Lee Hyun gripped the armrest of his command chair. "What species? What are their demands?" "They call themselves the Vorthon Empire. Massive ships, Commander. Each one is 3 times the size of our largest colony vessels. They have crimson hulls that seem to pulse like living tissue, and their broadcast shows creatures with 4 arms and red exoskeletons." Engineering Chief Han Su looked up from his station. "I've never heard of any Vorthon Empire in our galactic databases." Park Mina's transmission continued. "They claim this entire system belongs to their ancient territorial boundaries. They're calling humans soft flesh invaders and demanding what they term purification measures if we don't leave immediately." Lee Hyun stood up quickly. "That's impossible. We have legal settlement documents from the Galactic Commerce Guild. Humans purchased settlement rights to this system 43 years ago. Everything was properly documented and approved." "I know, sir, but these aliens don't seem to care about our paperwork. Their leader broadcasts on all frequencies every hour, showing images of what they did to other species who refused to leave their claimed territories. The footage is disturbing." On the main screen, they could see Haven's Rest. In the distance, a beautiful blue-green world with 3 small moons. Massive alien ships hung in orbit, like dark predators circling prey. Each Vorthon vessel had an organic appearance, as if grown rather than built, with weapon ports that resembled giant mouths. "We're sending diplomat Kim Jun to negotiate," Park Mina reported. "Maybe we can reach some understanding with them." 2 hours passed. Lee Hyun paced the bridge while his crew monitored long-range sensors. The Vorthon ships remained in perfect formation, unmoving and silent except for their hourly broadcasts. Then everything changed. "Commander!" Songbo shouted. "I'm detecting massive energy readings from the Vorthon fleet." The main screen showed brilliant red beams lancing down from orbit toward Haven's Rest. The primary spaceport, where thousands of colonists worked and traveled daily, erupted in flames. Secondary explosions rocked the facility as fuel depots and cargo ships detonated. "No, no, no," Lee Hyun whispered, watching his brother's world burn. The attack lasted only minutes, but the devastation was complete. The spaceport that had taken 20 years to build was reduced to twisted metal and smoking craters. Emergency broadcasts flooded their communications as rescue teams rushed to help the survivors. Park Mina's voice returned, now broken with grief. 2,000 confirmed dead, Commander. The Northbrook Elementary School was on a field trip to the spaceport today. 300 children. Lee Hyun's legs gave out. He collapsed into his command chair as the horrible truth hit him. His brother, Jun, had mentioned taking his class to see the new cargo ships this week. The young teacher had been so excited about showing his students the massive vessels that carried goods between the stars. "Sir?" Communications Officer Song Bo said quietly. "We're receiving personal messages from the surface. Your brother," Lee Hyun closed his eyes. He already knew. Across human space, news of the Haven's Rest massacre spread through quantum communication networks. On Earth, on Mars, on the furthest colonies, humans watched the footage with growing fury. The Vorthans had made their statement clear. Human life meant nothing to them, but the aliens had no idea what they had just awakened. For centuries, humanity had carefully maintained the image of peaceful traders and explorers. They had hidden their true nature behind smiles and commerce agreements. The Vorthans were about to learn why humans had once conquered their own world through endless warfare, and why the galaxy's most dangerous predator was the one that looked harmless until threatened. The holographic display in Admiral Choi Dae's office showed the burning remains of Haven's Rest spaceport on repeat. Each time the red beams struck the surface, each time the explosions bloomed like deadly flowers, his jaw clenched tighter. The children's screams echoed through the emergency broadcasts, and somewhere in that chaos was the voice of a teacher named Jun calling for help that would never come. "Sir, we have confirmation from all 12 sectors," reported Intelligence Officer Park Jin, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "The footage has reached every human colony, every space station, every mining outpost. Public. The reaction is intense." Choi Dae stood before the massive viewing window of Terra Station, Earth's primary orbital defense platform. Below him, the blue marble of humanity's homeworld turned slowly, peaceful and beautiful. But he knew that behind that tranquil appearance, something ancient and terrible was stirring. "Show me the Vorthan intelligence reports," he commanded. The hologram shifted to display alien ship schematics and cultural analysis. The Vorthans had spent months studying human colonies, watching cargo ships lumber between systems, observing farmers tend their crops under alien suns. They had catalogued human merchant vessels, noted the peaceful nature of human settlements, and concluded that humans were soft, weak creatures focused only on trade and agriculture. They had missed everything that mattered. "Fools," Choi Dae muttered. "They studied our shopkeepers and ignored our soldiers." Deep beneath the Sahara Desert, automated systems that had slept for decades suddenly hummed to life. What appeared to be a solar energy collection facility was actually the entrance to Facility 7, a massive underground complex stretching for kilometers beneath the sand. Inside, robotic assembly lines began constructing war machines that existed only in classified blueprints. Similar awakenings occurred across human space. On Europa, the ice mining station revealed hidden weapon foundries. The agricultural domes of Kepler 438b concealed shipyards capable of building dreadnoughts. Asteroid mining platforms throughout the belt transformed into ammunition factories and staging areas. Admiral Choi activated his command terminal with a retinal scan and voice print. "Authorization, Choi Dae Alpha 77, initiate protocol." 7. The words that hadn't been spoken in 112 years echoed through secure channels across the galaxy. On every human world, in every space station, emergency signals reached military personnel who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Captain Song Ara was studying star charts aboard the Silent Dawn when her personal communicator chimed with the highest priority alert. The sleek reconnaissance vessel hung invisible in the shadow of a dead moon, its advanced stealth systems making it undetectable to conventional sensors. "All hands to stations," she announced to her crew of 30 specialists. "We just received Protocol 7 authorization." Her crew consisted of humanity's finest intelligence operatives. Navigation expert Kim Ho had spent 5 years mapping Vorthan trade routes while posing as a mineral surveyor. Communications specialist Lee Da could intercept and decode alien transmissions faster than their own computers. Weapons Officer Park Soo had designed half the stealth systems that kept them hidden. "Captain, what exactly is Protocol 7? asked Ensign Yoon Mi, the youngest member of their crew. Song Ara smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "It means the galaxy is about to remember why humans conquered Earth through 10,000 years of warfare, before we ever reached the stars." The Silent Dawn shifted course toward Vorthan space, its engines producing no heat signature, no electromagnetic emissions, no trace that it existed. Behind them, across human territory, similar ghost ships began moving through the darkness. On Mars, General Han Jay stood in the war room of Command Central, watching tactical displays light up with friendly contacts. Ships that had been disguised as research vessels for decades revealed their true nature. The exploration ship Curiosity deployed weapon arrays that could crack a moon in half. The medical supply vessel Mercy launched squadrons of fighter craft that had been hidden in its cargo bays. "Sir, we have full mobilization across all sectors," reported Colonel Bay 1. 300 combat vessels are moving to staging positions. The Vorthans still don't know we're coming." Han Jay nodded grimly. The aliens had made their declaration of war when they murdered children. Now they would face the consequences of awakening humanity's true nature. Deep space monitoring stations tracked Vorthan fleet movements while appearing to be simple communication relays. Mining robots in asteroid fields suddenly revealed sophisticated sensor arrays. Even the peaceful trade convoys carried hidden military advisors and encrypted battle plans. Captain Song Ara's voice crackled through secure channels to her fellow commanders. "Intelligence confirms the Vorthans have 150 ships total. They consider this overwhelming force against primitive humans." She paused, watching her crew prepare their advanced reconnaissance equipment. "They think we're sheep who got lucky enough to reach space. Time to show them what happens when you corner a pack of wolves." The largest military mobilization in galactic history began in absolute silence, hidden behind the mask of peaceful trade and exploration that humanity had worn for generations. But beneath that gentle facade, the descendants of Earth's greatest warriors prepared to remind the galaxy why their species had survived every challenge their violent homeworld could offer. The Vorthans had wanted to see human nature. They were about to get their wish. The void of space around what had appeared to be Research Station Omega-7 began to shift and change. Massive sections of the station's outer hull slid away like flower, petals opening, revealing the true monster hidden beneath. The Eternal Fury emerged from its decades-long disguise, a kilometer-long dreadnought bristling with weapon arrays and armor plating thick enough to survive the heart of a star. Admiral Choi Day stood on the bridge, watching his officers work. With practiced efficiency, the command center stretched across 3 levels, with holographic displays showing fleet positions throughout human space. Captain Shin Yu monitored power systems, while Commander Park Du coordinated with other vessels, emerging from their hiding places. "Sir, we have confirmation from all sectors," reported Fleet Coordinator Kim Nay. "Operation Ghost Fleet is proceeding ahead of schedule." Across the galaxy, similar transformations were taking place. The peaceful cargo vessel, Gentle Breeze, split apart like a puzzle box, revealing the heavy cruiser Stormbringer, with its massive railguns and plasma torpedo arrays. Mining platforms throughout the asteroid belt deployed fighter squadrons that had been hidden in fake ore processing chambers. Captain Yun Tai watched from the bridge of his destroyer, Lightning Strike, as his squadron formed up around him. 50 sleek warships, each one disguised as civilian vessels for years, now moved in perfect formation. Their crews had trained in secret, running combat simulations while pretending to transport goods between colonies. "All units sound off," Yun Tai commanded. "Thunderbolt ready for action," came the first response. "Storm Chaser, standing by." Wind Dancer locked and loaded. One by one, his captains reported in. These weren't glory-seeking warriors looking for fame. They were professionals who understood that war was a deadly serious business, requiring precision, coordination, and absolute commitment to victory. Meanwhile, Commander Bei Su floated in the cockpit of her stealth fighter, watching dozens of similar craft emerge from hidden bays throughout the sector. The Shadow Dancers were humanity's most advanced space superiority fighters, invisible to most sensors and armed with weapons that could punch through heavy armor. "Shadow 1 to all units," she broadcast on encrypted channels. "Remember your training. We hit fast, we hit hard, and we disappear before they know what happened." Her fighter was a work of art, all curves and angles designed to scatter sensor beams while housing the most sophisticated targeting computers ever built. The cockpit wrapped around her like a second skin, neural interfaces allowing her to control the ship with thought alone. Captain Han Min paced the bridge of the battle cruiser Iron Will, addressing her crew of 800 professionals. These weren't young recruits looking for adventure. They were seasoned veterans who had spent years preparing for this moment. "Listen up," she announced over the ship's communication system. "The Vorthans think warfare is some kind of honor contest, where you announce your attacks and fight fair. They have no idea what they're facing." The Iron Will was a testament to human engineering, built not for show, but for pure destructive capability. Its main guns could crack a planet's crust, while its defensive systems could absorb punishment that would vaporize most alien vessels. "We don't fight for personal glory," Hanmin continued. "We don't fight to prove how brave we are. We fight to protect our families, our colonies, and our way of life. We fight to make sure no alien species ever thinks they can murder human children without consequences." Intelligence reports flowed through the fleet's communication networks. The Vorthans had 150 ships, an impressive force that had conquered dozens of star systems. But their tactics were outdated, based on individual combat between elite warriors rather than coordinated fleet actions. Admiral Choi studied the enemy fleet compositions with strategic analyst Li Bin. "Look at their formation," he pointed to the holographic display. "They arranged their ships like they're going to duel each other one-on-one. The Vortan vessels were certainly intimidating. Each one was a work of biological engineering, grown rather than built, with organic curves and weapon ports that looked like giant mouths. Their largest ships were mobile fortresses covered in living armor that could regenerate damage. "Sir, they're broadcasting challenge messages," reported Communications Officer Song Ri. "They want our fleet commanders to meet them in single combat to determine the outcome of the battle." Choi Day almost laughed. "They still don't understand what they're dealing with." Human warfare had evolved through millennia of conflict on Earth, where survival meant adapting faster than your enemies. While the Vorthans maintained ancient traditions of honor duels, humans had perfected electronic warfare, coordinated attacks, and adaptive artificial intelligence systems that could adjust tactics in real time. The Eternal Furies war room buzzed with activity as tactical officers ran final simulations. Captain Lim Seok coordinated with the stealth reconnaissance teams already in position around Haven's Rest. Captain Go Yoon prepared the electronic warfare systems that would blind and confuse enemy sensors. "Fleet status report," Admiral Choi commanded. "All vessels report ready for action," replied Fleet Coordinator Kim Nay. 300 ships in 7 battle groups approaching from multiple vectors. The Vorthans have no idea we're coming. The human fleet moved through space like a gathering storm, using asteroid fields and gas clouds for cover. Their approach was calculated and methodical, nothing like the dramatic charges favored by most alien species. Captain Song Ara's voice crackled through secure channels from her reconnaissance position. "Enemy fleet remains in standard formation around Haven's Rest. They're still expecting us to announce ourselves and fight according to their rules." Admiral Choi smiled grimly as his fleet prepared to teach the galaxy's most recent conquerors what human warfare really looked like. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Haven's Rest system, their ships materializing like deadly shadows against the star field. Admiral Choi Day watched the tactical display with cold fury as Vorthan vessels continued their systematic destruction of the colony below. Orbital bombardment platforms rained fire on hospitals, schools, and residential areas, while the alien fleet maintained perfect formation, treating the massacre like a routine military exercise. "Sir, the Vorthans are broadcasting surrender demands to the remaining colonists," reported Communications Officer Song Ri. "They're giving civilians one final hour to evacuate before what they call complete sterilization." Admiral Choi's voice cut through the bridge like ice. "All units weapons free. No warnings, no negotiations. Execute attack pattern Delta." The battle began not with dramatic speeches or honor challenges, but with devastating silence. Captain O-Ray's Missile Cruiser Squadron. Thunder Rain launched their opening salvo from maximum range. 300 quantum torpedoes streaked across space, their paths calculated by AI systems that had studied Vorthan ship designs for hours. The massive Vorthan flagship, Crimson Dominance, never saw death coming. The living vessel, grown from bioengineered coral and metal, stretched over 2 kilometers in length, with weapon ports that pulsed like giant hearts. Its organic armor had regenerated damage from a dozen conquered worlds, making it seem invincible. The first wave of human missiles struck the flagship's shield generators with surgical precision. The bioship's defensive systems, designed to absorb and adapt to energy weapons, had no answer for kinetic projectiles traveling at near light speed. Secondary explosions rippled along the creature's hull as its own weapon systems detonated. Direct. Hit on primary target, O'Ray reported calmly. Enemy flagship is disabled and venting atmosphere. Captain Lim Jin's stealth destroyer Ghostwalker materialized directly above a Vorthan battlecruiser, its cloaking field dropping for just long enough to deliver a devastating plasma barrage. The alien vessel, shaped like a massive sea creature, with tentacle-like weapon arrays, never detected the attack until its bioneural control center was already burning. Stealth Squadron reporting 3 confirmed kills. Lim Jin's voice crackled through secure channels. Enemy sensors can't track our approach vectors. The Vorthan fleet commander, War Chief Grextal, watched his formation crumble with growing horror. His species had conquered 15 star systems using the same tactics. Intimidate the enemy with superior numbers, demand single combat between champions, then overwhelm any resistance with brute force. But these humans fought like nothing he had ever encountered. They struck from multiple directions simultaneously, their weapons adapting to counter Vorthan defenses in real time. When his bioships tried to regenerate damaged sections, human targeting systems simply switched to different vulnerability points. Commander Shin Ho's electronic warfare suite aboard the command cruiser Signal Storm had been monitoring Vorthan communications since the fleet's arrival. The aliens used bioneural networks that pulsed with organic rhythms, transmitting tactical data through living conduits. Initiating communication disruption, Shin Ho announced, his fingers dancing across holographic control interfaces. Their bioneural networks are surprisingly vulnerable to specific frequency disruption. Across the Vorthan fleet, living communication systems began to convulse and fail. Ship commanders found themselves isolated from their fleet, unable to coordinate responses or call for support. The organic networks that had served them for millennia suddenly became liabilities. Captain Yun Tae's destroyer squadron, Lightning Strike, swept through the confused alien formation like wolves among sheep. The sleek human warships moved in, perfect coordination, their AI-assisted targeting systems sharing data instantaneously. Where Vorthan ships fired individually, human vessels concentrated their firepower with devastating effect. Enemy formation is collapsing, Yun Tae reported as his ships disabled another biocruiser. They're trying to retreat to defensive positions around the planet. That was when the Vorthan reinforcements arrived. 50 additional alien vessels dropped out of hyperspace in a classic pincer formation, their hulls glowing with bioluminescent war markings. War Chief Velkron had brought the 3rd Battle Fleet, the pride of the Vorthan Empire, to crush what should have been primitive human resistance. But Captain Song Ara's reconnaissance teams had been monitoring Vorthan hyperspace communications for hours. The moment the enemy reinforcements began their jump sequence, human forces were already repositioning to counter them. Admiral, enemy reinforcements are arriving exactly where our intelligence predicted, Song Ara transmitted from her hidden observation post. They're walking into our trap. Captain Park Seo's fighter wing Stormhawks erupted from concealment behind Haven's Rest's largest moon. 200 sleek combat craft swarmed toward the arriving Vorthan fleet, like angry insects, their small size making them nearly impossible for enemy gunners to target effectively. The fighters dove through gaps in alien formations, their pulse, weapons and micro-missiles finding weak points in bioship armor. Each human pilot was linked to a tactical AI that calculated optimal attack patterns faster than any organic mind could process. Admiral Choi watched the engagement unfold with grim satisfaction. The Eternal Fury's massive guns spoke for the first time, sending city-sized projectiles across space at incredible velocity. When they struck the Vorthan command ship, the bio-vessel simply ceased to exist, vaporized in a flash of superheated plasma. "Sir, enemy fleet is requesting parley," reported Communications Officer Song Ri. "They're broadcasting surrender codes." The battle had lasted exactly 3 hours and 17 minutes. Of the 200 Vorthan vessels that had entered the system, fewer than 30 remained functional. Their bioships floated dead in space, their living hulls dark and lifeless, while escape pods drifted helplessly through the debris field. War Chief Grextal stared at his tactical display in absolute disbelief. The most powerful fleet in Vorthan history had been annihilated by species they had dismissed as weak traders and farmers. The humans had fought with a coordination and ruthlessness that defied everything the aliens thought they knew about warfare. The peaceful merchants had just demonstrated why their species had conquered an entire planet through endless millennia of warfare before ever reaching the stars. The conference room aboard the Eternal Fury was a study in contrasts. Admiral Choi Day sat calmly at the head of a polished table, his uniform crisp and his expression controlled. Across from him, the surviving Vorthan commanders looked like broken remnants of their former selves. War Chief Grextal's crimson exoskeleton bore deep cracks that leaked yellow fluid, while his 4 arms shook uncontrollably. The proud alien warrior who had boasted about purifying human worlds now couldn't meet the Admiral's eyes. "Bring up the tactical display," Admiral Choi commanded quietly. The holographic projector showed the aftermath of the battle in stark detail. Destroyed Vorthan bioships drifted through space like dead whales, their once-living hulls now cold and dark. Rescue shuttles moved between the wreckage, pulling alien survivors from escape pods and debris fields. "Your Empire sent 200 ships to destroy a single human colony," Admiral Choi began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "You murdered children on a school field trip. You targeted hospitals and civilian shelters. You called it purification." War Chief Grextal tried to speak, but only managed a weak clicking sound from his damaged vocal cords. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Thexwell, finally found her voice. We studied your species for months," she whispered. "Your cargo ships, your farming colonies, your peaceful trading posts. You appeared weak, focused only on commerce and agriculture." Admiral Choi leaned forward slightly. "That was your first mistake. You studied our shopkeepers and ignored our soldiers." Captain Kang Yu, standing at attention beside the Admiral's chair, activated another holographic display. This one showed Earth's history in fast-forward. Ancient armies clashing with bronze weapons, medieval knights charging across battlefields, industrial warfare consuming entire continents, nuclear weapons capable of ending worlds. Humanity comes from a planet where every civilization was forged in warfare spanning 10,000 years, Admiral Choi continued. Romans who conquered half a continent, Mongols who built empires stretching across continents, Americans who fought a civil war that killed more people than most alien species have in their entire histories. The Vorthan commanders stared at the images with growing horror. Their own species had evolved on a peaceful world where conflicts were settled through ritual combat between champions. They had never experienced the total warfare that had shaped human development for millennia. "We prefer peace and trade because we know the true cost of war," Admiral Choi said. "But we never forgot how to fight. We simply chose not to advertise our capabilities." Captain Kang Yu stepped forward with a datapad containing the surrender terms: complete withdrawal from all human territories within 30 standard days, full reparations for Haven's Rest reconstruction, including compensation for every family that lost members in your attack, formal apology delivered to the Galactic Council acknowledging your unprovoked aggression. War Chief Grextal's remaining functional arm reached for the pad with trembling fingers. There would be no negotiation, no counter-offers, no diplomatic maneuvering. The Vorthan Empire had gambled everything on their assessment of human weakness and lost catastrophically. "I accept all terms," he managed to whisper, his translator struggling with his damaged vocal systems. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, news networks were broadcasting footage of the battle that had just redefined galactic politics. The Centauri Broadcasting Network showed slow-motion replays of human missiles striking Vorthan bioships with devastating precision. The Rigel News Service analyzed tactical recordings of human fighters swarming through alien formations like mechanical hornets. On the trading hub of New Singapore Station, Ambassador Chen Wu found himself suddenly surrounded by alien diplomats who had previously treated humans as minor partners in galactic commerce. The insectoid Zephyrians, who had been negotiating trade agreements for months, now spoke with obvious nervousness in their clicking voices. "Ambassador Chen," chittered Trade Coordinator Velkix, "we had no idea humans possessed such extensive military capabilities." Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds. The peaceful human traders who had been establishing colonies and trade routes for decades were suddenly viewed with new respect and barely concealed fear. Species that had considered humans useful but harmless now realized they had been dealing with the galaxy's apex predators. Captain Song Ara monitored galactic communications from her stealth ship, watching the political landscape shift in real time. Emergency sessions were being called in alien governments throughout known space. Military advisors scrambled to reassess human territorial holdings and fleet strengths. "Sir," she reported to Admiral Choi, "we're detecting massive increases in diplomatic communication traffic. Every major species is trying to understand what they missed about human military capabilities." The truth was spreading like wildfire through galactic civilization. The humans who sold them rare minerals had weapons that could crack planets. The farmers who supplied agricultural goods possessed stealth technology beyond anything previously imagined. The explorers mapping new star systems commanded fleets that could annihilate established empires. On Earth, President Kim Da addressed the Global Assembly with measured words that would be analyzed by alien intelligence agencies for decades to come. "Humanity has always preferred the path of peace and cooperation," she announced to the assembled representatives and galactic media. "We build schools instead of fortresses, hospitals instead of weapons factories, parks instead of military bases. But those who mistake our kindness for weakness do so at their own peril." The Vorthan Empire's reputation as the galaxy's premier military force evaporated overnight. Their bioships, once feared throughout dozens of star systems, had been revealed as inadequate against human technology and tactics. Species that had paid tribute to avoid Vorthan conquest now wondered if they had been afraid of paper tigers. War Chief Grextal was loaded onto a hospital transport, his broken body serving as a living reminder of what happened when someone threatened human civilians. As his ship departed the Haven's rest system, he looked back at the human fleet with new understanding. The gentle traders had just taught the galaxy its most important lesson. The sleeping giant had awakened, and the universe would never be the same. The end.